Blog Talk Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, it's Leave It in the Ring.
Well, welcome back to another edition of Leave the Ring Radio. I'm your host, Dave Twinitz, with my co-host, as always, Gabriel Montoya. Hey, thanks everybody for giving me a happy birthday wish. Messages, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was a great Cinco de Mayo weekend, not just for myself, but I think for everybody that is a boxing fan here, Gabriel. I had a great time. I enjoyed every card that happened Friday and Saturday. Facebook had some good fights. Golden Boy Live Facebook night had some good fights. Top Rank had some good fights on Saturday that happened in Stockton. And then the Zone had some really good fights with the main event with Canelo Alvarez versus Danny Jacobs. So, I don't know. Let's just dive right into Danny Jacobs, and then we're going to open up the phone lines because they're going to get pretty packed pretty quick for this review that we have about Canelo Alvarez and Danny Jacobs. I saw immediately right after the fight, a lot of folks were saying that it was boring. They didn't enjoy it. A lot of complaints about the zone, the stream, all the way down to the commentary. I got to tell you, man, I enjoyed it. I don't really know. I didn't have any problem with my stream. I had two TVs up. I was watching the Top Rank card, and I was watching the DAZN card, and I was entertained by Canelo and Danny Jacobs. Maybe because I wasn't expecting an all-out war. I was expecting more of a chess match between the two. When you have two high-level skilled fighters, you're never going to get that, go immediately for the KO. It's kind of rare that kind of happens, especially with the way these two gentlemen, how they fight. Their style is not like that. Canelo's never been known as a murderous killer, a guy that goes in there and can take your head off with one shot. He actually kind of breaks you down, and even by the weight, move up in weight in the years, we've kind of seen Canelo, get better. Danny Jacobs too. Danny Jacobs, if you trap him, then he's going to scratch his way out. And that was really up to Canelo to trap him. Some folks were saying that his cutting off the ring was a bit better. I didn't really see that. I tell you what really has gotten good with Canelo, man, his head movement. It was really, a thing of that was ripped off the page of Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. His head movement was really good. He was avoiding a lot of shots. He's very elusive. He's not getting the credit for that as much as he should. But he didn't really cut that ring off as much as I wanted to see him do, so that he could have made Danny fight, force him to fight and slow him down, which I got to say I'm a bit surprised there, GG Gabriel, that Danny Jacobs, his legs were a lot better than what I thought they were going to be in this fight. I thought he was going to be a little bit more dead in the water.
This is a big storyline. Sorry, you caught me mid-sip there. I'm still in post-opening night celebration, having my first Stoli of the day. Look, it's 4. I can start. I think the biggest thing, it was funny. I watched the fight, kind of weird. It was my opening night on Sunday, but it was my final preview on Saturday, and I was watching it on my phone on DAZN in the dressing room. And I had the fights going all waiting, and then I only have like one scene in the second act, which is great because then I could kind of watch the fight, pause it, and then go do my work and come back and wait, and watch it through intermission, and because it's a frac play. And so I noticed, I was like, I'm watching it without sound, obviously, because I'm
right.
So theater. And I'm going, what's wrong with Canelo's legs? I know he's got that knee brace. He's been wearing it for a few fights now. We've heard that he had a procedure done a while back, like I think it was around the time he tested positive. Like, didn't he kind of shut it down, had knee surgery, and then
Right.
I think it was like a scope. But it seems like it's more of So then when I rewatched
It was
the
during
fight,
the suspension he did it.
right?
Yeah, when that
And
test
then
came back.
yeah, and so they were like, we're going to shut it down for 6 anyway, so let's do this. But so then, I rewatched the fight today because I just wanted to watch it without any breaks and just really give it my full attention. And yes, I was being a bad actor watching the damn fight back there. But it's a different world now with people with phones from when the time I stopped acting when I was a boxing writer in L.A. and
Right.
the iPhone hadn't come out to now. It's pretty crazy. People checking the score of the game, like, and still going out there and rocking it. But, like, it's a weird world. But I digress. So I'm watching the fight today. And sure enough, the first thing they say before the bell is Canelo's got such a bad knee injury. They're thinking they're going to have to go, take care of this, like, with surgery after this fight. I'm like, why isn't anybody talking about this all week? Why wasn't that a big story? And Canelo, you talk about him not cutting off the ring. Well, that's lateral movement.
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly.
that knee injury, he might be only able to really effectively go north and south right now, not east and west, and that's what's kind of showing. He's got a lot of miles on him, Canelo. We've been watching him since he was 17. He's been in with a lot of big names, a lot of big fights, and a lot of them have gone 12 rounds. So while it's experience, it's also mileage. He hasn't taken a lot of beatings. I think the probably the worst, his only loss is to Mayweather, and it was kind of a humiliation, a bit of a beating, but not so career altering by any stretch of the imagination. I think it strengthened his resolve, as some people wrote this week. I think like Lance Pugmire. But I thought it was a tight fight. I gave Danny the first 2 rounds. I thought he was more accurate and more active. But then Canelo comes out with that crouch and the high guard, and his corner told him bend at the waist. I don't think so much Julio Cesar Chavez, or it's reminiscent, I guess. I was thinking Pernell Whitaker with some of his head movement. I know that's Max Kellerman-esque of me, but the defense that he was showing, I mean, it's the same kind of defense that everybody's super excited about Lomachenko, except that Lomachenko also has dynamic footwork to go with it, whereas Canelo's bending his waist and then kind of moving, but he's got a bad knee, and that's obviously hurting him. I mean, it's something that dogs Sergio Martinez. If you watch Canelo's earlier fights, he was much more of a mover, much more active and mobile while being a counterpuncher. He hasn't really changed. He's learned how to come forward defensively. I think that's what the defense has allowed him to do is be more of a pressure fighter and go against his character, which is to be a mobile counterpuncher. But I thought, after the 3rd and 4th, 5th, somewhere in there, that Danny just didn't look like he had any answers. So he switched into southpaw, which turns him into more of a mobile defensive fighter. So, but it's more like, his hands are leaky. That defense, that aspect of his defense is leakier. And his head movement isn't on point, the way Sergio more aptly pointed out. But he's able to move with his feet better and get into position and land a good left hand. Like, it's probably the cleanest shots that he could land, or that right hook. But it was never, I don't think it really ever worked for him. It was only until he started going broke in the back quarter of the fight. Danny starts pressing the action that I thought he had some of his most, effective moments and probably stole a couple rounds. But I always felt that Canelo was in control. They were fighting his pace, and that Danny was trying to figure out how to get through all the different looks that Canelo gives offensively, from a high guard to a low lead hand, more of a shell defense. I said it after the fight, Canelo's a complete fighter and arguably the best fighter in the game.
The story of the knee, like you said, was never picked up. It was never even talked about. But also the story of Danny Jacobs. I mean, immediately the story broke out that he was not going to make the said weight that they had promised that was going to happen. If he went above that weight, he was going to be fined. But here's the thing is that Danny even said after, it's really hard for me to make 160. And he tried his best to come back on the second weigh-in scale. Just didn't happen. And, I saw a lot of tweets, and even people were hitting me up, and they were saying, like, this Danny doesn't even look like he wants to fight. He's not letting his hands go. And I was sitting back and I was watching this fight here, and I was like, after the fight, I was like, I want to wait to see if anybody brings this up. And I didn't see anybody bring this up. If they did, let me know, and I'll give you the credit. But I would have wished that me sitting back, I would have reported that, when a guy has to dehydrate and rehydrate themselves, no one really talks about, what it takes out of you. How your body has to recover. A day being rehydrated is maybe it's not enough. I mean, it's not enough. If you're a big guy, big middleweight, the way Danny Jacobs is, and who's really not even fighting in his own weight class. I know he's campaigned at 160, but in reality, he looks like he should be more at 168 or even at 175. I'm sitting and I'm watching a guy. His response is very slow. It almost took him between the 6th and 7th round to kind of catch up and wake up. His body finally finally went into gear, which was fighting gear. But when I see something like that, I sit back and I go, I wonder how much of that is a part of that rehydrating your body, cutting all that weight to make 160 and then trying to reshock it to get it, to get it up for fight week or fight night. And I'm very curious of him going to 168, which he announced that he's planning to do. I think that is going to be by far the better weight division for him to campaign in, Gabriel. And I think that what we lack of seeing him in performance at 160, we're going to end up getting it at 168 because he's not going to cut as much weight. He's not going to have to concentrate in so much in cutting weight to make weight for a fight, but be more comfortable and more in his natural weight on fight night.
Yeah, I just think, so much we've talked about weight for a long time. And Andy Foster, the executive director of the California State Athletic Commission, has talked about weight for a few years now. He's a former MMA fighter, the wrestling background, I believe. He knows what it is to cut weight and how ridiculous it's gotten. The windows that people use, from college wrestling, high school wrestling on up to MMA and boxing in the amateur and professional ranks. It's just gotten out of hand. The day before weigh-in and then 36 hours later, you're like 15 to 18 pounds. Like whatever your body can do and still be like at 90%, I guess, or closest to 100% as you can get, that's what people are doing. And they're doing it, when guys are younger and your body's more resilient. But, we don't know the long-term effects. I mean, we've seen some of it, maybe it, to me, it's just we've got to move towards what Floyd and Manny did towards the end of their careers. And the most effective parts of their careers was move to a weight where you're not killing yourself to get, to qualify for a weight class, but you're still like super dangerous and fast and powerful. We're just not doing that.
I mean,
we're not learning that lesson. You know what I mean?
Look how fluent Canelo looks at 160. He really struggled at 147. He was dropped at 140 against Jose Cotto. At 154, when he fought Floyd Mayweather, he looked drawn out. At 160, he seems to be more comfortable. Even when he decided to go up to 168 for a short bit for that one fight, he looked a lot.
He was only like 164.
Right?
Even if he fought Kovalev, I would suspect he would be like a 170. I think he's learned, you keep your advantages. And with Jacobs, he was like, I'm going to be the smaller fighter. I'm going to slide in behind my shield, my high guard. He's got, he's just got those winky right arms. He covers everything when he puts his gloves up. And he's hard to get to. And he's got good, quick hands. He's a lot faster than people give him credit for. I think Danny knew what he was getting into. It just couldn't quite crack it. And he didn't fight with that urgency, and I tend to agree with you, Dave, that it was about not quite being able to pull the trigger as fast as he always wanted to. I haven't talked to Danny afterwards, but we'll see.
Yeah, very slow response. I mean, Canelo Alvarez is a slow starter himself, but Danny's a very slow starter. It took him 6 to 7, which the same thing happened to him when he fought Gennady Golovkin. It took him a while to kind of catch up and get himself going. I tend to believe that Danny. Here's two things. At that weight, he's probably a 15-round fighter. If he went to his natural weight, I think his body wakes up a little quicker because he's not like kind of shaking, trying to get his bearings all together. I mean, it's a lot, man. I don't think people understand that once you cut all that weight and then you try to rehydrate yourself, you got to refill your legs. Your body goes through a torment.
Well, I think, we do, we've heard about it and seen it. Somebody's died making weight in the last few years. I think a couple people now. There was like an MMA guy like 2012, I want to say, in Brazil. Just died like right on the scale. But yeah, we know too much now, and I think you can only go to that well so many times because it's such a inexact pseudoscience, dehydrating and starving somebody 10, 15 pounds to give some sort of advantage when you rehydrate, if you're not too sick, and you can take advantage of it. That inexact pseudoscience leads to, on fight night, all of a sudden you're kind of a spent bullet. I'm not saying Danny was that by any stretch, but you and I talked about it extensively today. I think Danny needs to go to 68.
He does.
But we need to go to a Milcar in New York City, I believe. Am I correct?
Yeah, let's patch in some callers here.
Sir, yes, I'm in the Bronx, New York. How are you guys?
In the Bronx.
Good, man.
Oh, we're doing well, man. Doing well.
Excellent.
It's it's definitely San Francisco outside, but other than the windy weather and the kind of rain, it's good.
Cool. No, congrats on your show, Gabe. That's good
Thank
to hear. You guys had opening night. Must be exciting times. So,
yeah, it is. It is.
So I was one of the people had a few issues with the Zone broadcast on the weekend. I don't know if anyone else has experienced this. I have Roku, and there's always a lag between like the audio and video after a few minutes. But what I notice is that if I watch it on my laptop and Chromecast it, it's absolutely fine. So they may kind of still be in the early stages of figuring things out with the different kinds of smart TVs and stuff. Or maybe this is a Roku problem. I don't really know. Overall, yeah, go ahead, Gabe. Sorry.
I have Chromecast. That's how I cast my from my phone app to that. And today, just on the rewatch, I was watching all the undercard, and sometimes the quality is just all blurry. I don't know what the deal is. I've got looked in settings, and there's no like in play setting you can go like best quality or anything. There's some problems with it, and the ESPN app. They got a way to go in terms of user experience.
I've had problems with the ESPN app. I've had problems with the ESPN app. But I have Apple TV. Knock on wood, I haven't had problems with the Zone yet. But I've been hearing a lot from a lot of folks saying that their stream is slow. It's pausing a lot. The audio and the action is off, just like you mentioned right now, Milcar. But yeah, the ESPN Plus one, I've had problems with it where it freezes on me, and I got to turn it off and turn it back on. But the Zone, I haven't encountered those issues.
My main problem with the ESPN is just it's difficult to find things. It's not like very intuitive and user friendly like the Zone app is. The Zone, what you want, you find it right away. ESPN, I always have to go looking for things. It's a little annoying, especially if you're used to using Netflix or the OTT service providers. Right. So you guys mentioned Danny Jacobs moving up. I also thought that he lost the fight. Like, he obviously didn't get dominated or blown out, but in my view, he didn't win the fight or earn a draw. But you look at the top fighters at 168. I don't really see him having a lot of success there. What do you guys think? You got Gilberto Ramirez, Callum Smith, Caleb Plant. I guess he could maybe do something with Darrell, but the other three, I don't really see him having much success against them. Definitely not the first two.
I think I'm going to have to go to see. I think the first fight that he takes on at 168, I think that's when I would go off him and how well he will do. Like I said, my theory is that if he moves up, I think it wakes up his body because he's struggling so hard to make 160.
Dude, he looked terrible at the weigh-in. He did not. That was the worst I've ever seen him.
Yeah, he looked so drained.
Yeah, and just he looked good coming into the ring. He was super excited to be there, but I was like, that just can't be good for you to do it that many times. His face just looks skeletal. I just like Dave and I talked about this today, that it's just who's going to give him a shot? He's not going to fight Andrade. That's Golovkin is Andrade's mandatory. And obviously, Golovkin Alvarez 2 or 3 rather doesn't make sense next. If the mission was all the belts, then a fight where all the belts are on the line, and it's the third fight between Canelo and Triple G makes the most sense. Or if Andrade wins, between Canelo and Triple G, or any combination of those three guys. It's going to have it all on the line. I don't know necessarily though that if Golovkin presses that mandatory and doesn't get the Alvarez fight next, and he fights Andrade, I'm not sure he beats him.
Well, I don't think he does beat him. The thing is that trilogies, you get excited about them when they are like great fights, right? So
right.
You think of like Pacquiao Marquez, right? Or the trilogy that Marquez's brother was involved with.
Marquez Vasquez, 1 through 3. Whew. Yeah.
Come on, like these are fights that were you really clamoring for a trilogy. I wasn't clamoring for Pacquiao Bradley 3, right? Yeah, I wasn't clamoring for a rematch. Honestly, my level of interest in Triple G Canelo was lower than it was for Pacquiao Bradley 3. And that's actually saying a lot.
Now,
I wasn't excited about that fight at all.
If Triple G goes out and knocks Demetrius Andrade out and looks a little different in doing it and does it like hashtag Kronk style, now that he's got Jonathan Banks as his trainer, then I'm interested. And it's for all the belts, and let's do this thing next. Before
hashtag not going to happen. Hashtag avoiding top level competition. I mean, look.
Hashtag marketing style.
The guy, hashtag, stealing Mexican identity and not representing it very well. I mean, look.
That's funny.
He proved who he was when he refused to fight Deverenchenko, right? And I know the last time I called on, I went off about this a little bit, but he's further proven who he is by taking on a guy that I don't think anyone has heard of. I'd never heard of Steve Rolls.
No.
Right? I mean,
we're all rolling around trying to figure that out.
I'm a guy literally who was trying to find video footage of Lunga Makabu versus Mike Perez from the Congo this weekend. You know what I mean? Like, that's how much of a boxing nerd I am, right? The same Lunga Makabu that dropped Tony Bellew when Tony Bellew won the WBC cruiserweight title, right? And I don't know who the fuck Steve Rolls is, right? So you're gonna sell me that, Mr. Mexican style, Mr. hashtag all the belts and all of the other nonsense. Look, he lost me, and you guys kind of went into this as well last week. Look. It often surprises people that I'm part Mexican because I'm black, but my granddad was from Mexico, and the appropriation that occurs, right? Whilst at the same time, there's all of the bigotry and the anti-immigrant sentiment and the idea that people should earn less than their worth. The type of stuff you talked about last week, Gabe. He essentially just used Abel Sanchez. Right? And then you can say, oh, well, he's bigger than he was before, and his entire identity and boxing style was the result of Abel Sanchez. And if you're going to appropriate culture like that, well, you at least got to do it correctly. You know what I mean? It's like Eminem as a rapper. Eminem's respected as a rapper because he is a very good rapper, right? So people respect him. Even though he started off doing an art form or whatever that was considered to be that of another group, right? But Triple G, I mean, what is he doing here? He's running away from opponents. He's, you saw him in the, all blingy and flashy at the. Honestly, it's not even the same guy as that was presented to us at the beginning. Am I way off on this?
No, I mean, it was interesting seeing the crowd boo him. I mean, it's kind of telling. I mean, it's, Canelo crowd. But it's interesting. I mean, I guess, Steve Rolls is probably, it's the getting to know you period. Get back, get right, get a knockout. And DAZN probably wants that kind of fight right off the bat, They need that KO
reel for DAZN,
Yeah, and so, we're going to do that. But, I mean, Golovkin fans, especially people that pushed, Sergio Martinez and Golovkin, the mythical fight that had never had a time slot or an offer from HBO, never really had the right timing. One guy was on pay-per-view while the other guy was coming in as like the third fight, late replacement. Golovkin is the mandatory. Push for the fight with Andrade. That's, it doesn't make any other sense for Canelo and Triple G to fight if there's not all the belts on the line.
You know what? I mean, with the way Triple G looked with all the bling and everything, I don't have a problem with it, to tell you the truth. I mean, look at Canelo. He had the biggest, big signing with DAZN. And you know what? He still fights like a guy that is looking for a big payday. As long as Triple G gets in there and fights like a guy that's looking for a big payday, I'm okay with it. Money changes you.
Gabe,
absolutely.
Gabe, sorry to interrupt, but he already has a big payday. He's making $15 million to fight a guy that no one's ever.
I know that. What I'm saying though, the Canelo has a huge payday, but he still fights like a guy that he's trying to earn.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
He's also not wearing dark sunglasses late at night on TV.
That was pretty trippy. I was like, does he want? I don't understand. Is he sleeping? What's going on? And then you just kind of threw shade at him.
Now. He's a superstar. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's a bit of a heel turn. It's a bit of a Floyd thing. He's just always been a blunt. I think there's a little bit of Costa Zoo to him, like that. He's going to call it like he sees it. But I also think there's also a little bit of Chavez post-loss to Frankie Randall going on. Kind of blaming everything
Chavez was
but
not
yourself.
graceful at all. Yeah, he wasn't graceful at all with loss. Mm-hmm.
But, at the same time, Triple G's nasty. That's what we like about him. He's Hagler-esque. He's Monzon-esque. So, show me a guy who minds losing, I'll show you a loser. Or doesn't mind losing, I'll show you a loser.
Real nasty against Martirosyan. Not so nasty against...
Jacobs or Canelo.
Or Jacobs or Canelo, exactly. And clearly not too nasty against Andrade, who he doesn't seem to really want anything from, and obviously isn't pushing for #all the belts.
Kasim Uma, gave him four. That was a hell of a fight. That's kind of his first real kind of baptism type fight. Triple G's quality, but I'm very curious to see what it's going to be like going forward. He's going to be training. I don't know if you've seen Radio Raheem at Radio Raheem TVs on Twitter. And on Second Out, they release his videos. Did interviews with Triple G, but also with Jonathan Banks, who's the new trainer. I just, he says that Banks is going to take him to the next level. I mean, Banks is it's kind of one of those apprentice, fighter trainers. Been around Emmanuel Stewart. That's what his pedigree is. Being with Klitschko as a late replacement after the passing of Emmanuel. But is he going to take Triple G to that next level? I wonder, I don't know anything about his training, style. Is he kind of like the Kronk guys and he makes people
a lot? I mean, let's not take that away from him. He did.
That's true.
He did hone down Adonis Stevenson. I mean, when Adonis came in looking really raw, he helped him out.
That's a great point.
With straighter punches. But the thing is that after that, Klitschko. I mean, how do you? I see people are really bagging on him pretty bad because they're like, oh, look what he did with Klitschko. I mean, but he didn't really do much. He couldn't really do much with a guy that's already kind of,
Olympic gold medalist, very entrenched in his style.
Yeah,
and we also didn't see the camp. He was obviously got him ready for the fight. He was definitely ready for the fight. It's just the way the fight went, and that's not on the at some point it's on the fighter.
Here's the thing, too. You had a heavyweight champion of the world who had just lost his trainer, a guy that he's been with for so many years. Do you really think his mind was right to listen to a new guy and try to hear exactly what the new guy is going to say and what he's going to, try to implicate into your training style? No.
Yeah, you might even be running it through the Emmanuel filter every time he says something. Would Emmanuel agree with that? Should I do that? He's already a chess player. He used to drive Emmanuel crazy.
They should do that on pay-per-view, Lennox versus Klitschko, chess. Chess is kind of taking off. In terms of streaming. I'd actually watch that. I don't know if I'd pay for it, but
that's a great idea. That's a great idea. How about boxing
the
chess?
last chess championship, it was contested between a guy from the U.S. and a guy from Sweden, I think, and it was like millions and millions of people watching it around the world online. Anyways, I digress. So, the only person I see Jacobs legitimately being able to fight that has any kind of a name at all at 168 is Callum Smith because he signed the Matchroom. Right? Gilberto's with Top Rank, Caleb Plant and Durrell are with the PBC. And honestly, I see Callum Smith dominating and potentially, knocking out Daniel Jacobs. I mean, Callum Smith is a big, highly skilled 168-pounder.
You're sending Danny right at straight at the guy that's the toughest guy, but ignoring. Don't you think that? Well, actually you're right. He's the only other one that's on DAZN. My bad.
Yeah.
He's with Al Heyman, but he's in a different universe. Well, but
and even Chris Eubank
does Danny
Jr.
have a deal with DAZN?
Does he have a deal with DAZN? He does, yeah.
Or does Eddie Hearn have a deal with DAZN, and Danny's with him, which is a different
thing? I've
thing.
heard him mention that he signed to DAZN.
Okay, I'll have to, I'm not doubting you.
I'm not in the business of things.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. If I remember correctly, Danny's with Match. What is it?
Matchroom. He's definitely with Matchroom USA for sure.
Yeah.
But Matchroom USA has to deal with DAZN.
Yeah, January 18th, 2019. We'll just give credit to Mike Smith for maybe printing a press release on Boxing News 24. Daniel Jacobs signed a 3-fight deal with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing USA DAZN company ahead of his unification with Canelo. So a third fight. So he's got 2 more fights after this, then, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like it. If Jacobs wins, then his second part of his deal would be a rematch. If he loses, then Hearn will likely have him challenging Demetrius Andrade, who badly needs to start fighting named guys. So he might lose up in this, which is kind of a trip. But that might just be speculation by the writer. And I think my logic dictates that Triple G's got to take that chance. And Seleki's fighting Demetrius Andrade next, right? And then we got once that's cleared and Triple G Rolls is cleared, it's just clear that that's the fight that's going to happen.
Yeah, I'd like to see that more than I'd like to see Triple G Canelo for sure. I just am not interested in that.
No, that storyline needs to be reignited, and there's only one way to do it. You get a belt. It was also Triple G's Eddie Raheem's interview with Triple G, and the quote from it is "Stop calling me son" by Triple G. You should check it out. It's on my timeline.
Radio Raheem does some good stuff. I mean, every time you mention his name, I think your people too. Your people too. Raheem.
To this day.
Radio Raheem. Yeah, I mean, to this day.
That was great stuff, man.
It was awesome. Anyways, guys, I really appreciate you getting me on. I've got to take off, but later on I'll listen to the rest of the show on the podcast.
All right, my friend. Brother. Good luck. Peace.
All right, you take care. Thank you.
All right.
I put a poll
up in the Bronx.
I put a poll up immediately after the fight and asking folks to vote who they would want Canelo to step in the ring. It's next. And the names I put was obviously Dimitri and then Golovkin and Smith. And surprisingly, Andrade and Golovkin were neck to neck. But as of right now, Dimitri is ahead by, it's 47 to 43, so 47. So he's up by 4. Smith is not. It's in the 20s. But you know what I forgot to put on there, and people had pointed it out to me, was B.J. Saunders. Canelo versus B.J. Saunders. I tell you what, I would actually like that fight if they were to sign on and go on and make that fight to happen. You imagine the build-up between in that fight there. I think if anybody right now that can get underneath the skin of Canelo next to what Triple G has done, it could be B.J. Saunders.
I think the next thing that's going to get under Canelo's skin is going to be a doctor fixing his knee. He's going to be out for a while.
Man, did that knee brace blend in with his color of skin pretty good or what?
That's pretty
dope. You really got to look at it.
Like,
yeah,
that was nice. I was
like,
what shade do you want?
Yep.
Canelo.
Yeah.
Give me one.
Give me a Canelo, please.
When you said I put a poll up after the fight, I thought you were talking about in your new podcast studio.
In my
you do a little pole dancing aerobics in Dave's studio there.
I would,
Should we go?
but I have bad hands, unfortunately. They're very brittle. Hey, let's patch in another fight fan here on Leaving the Ring really quick before we go on to our next subject.
All right, then. 619, you're live on Leave It in the Ring.
Hey, what's up, Gabe? It's Juan from San Diego.
What's up?
What's up, Dave? How are you?
How's San Diego?
Good, dude. It's actually hot outside.
Yeah, it's warm.
And, I don't know if you're familiar with the area, but I'm in Chula Vista on the eastern side where
yes.
East Lake, so it gets really hot over here. So on Mondays I work from home and I get to stay here. And my house is a little cold. I went outside. I was like, oh my God, it's freaking hot. I was like,
yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the fights this week, and of course Triple G and everything that's happened these last 2 weeks. I've been kind of interested in talking about several things. Specifically, I wanted to start off with the fight. I thought the fight was, I was scoring it, and I didn't even drink a beer or anything. I was just 100% focused on the fight. And I thought I scored the fight a draw, which, in hindsight, I think I gave way too much credit to Danny Flores. I never felt he was the winner of the fight. I always felt that Canelo was the winner, but my score simply looked 6-6. I don't know why. But we were like 4 or 5 people here in my house, and most of
I've had that happen before. It's a weird thing, right? You look down and you're like, well, wait a minute.
No, I was like, well, how did I score this 6-6? But we're 4 guys here watching the fight. My friend, he scored it for Jacobs, which was kind of, how did that happen? He's a good, he knows boxing. He just was
Adam, was at your house?
One of my sons. And then a couple of guys that were Canelo fans, they scored it really wide towards Canelo. And I noticed that what happened, and the same thing happened last week with the zone broadcast with the Rome Besai Estrada fight. The guys that are in the commentators, Brian Kelly, Sergio Mora, and I don't know, Chris Mannix, or I don't remember who the third one was. But all 3 are scoring the fight. All 3 are talking about their score. All 3 are like every round talking about it. And I think that influences you as a viewer. With HBO, you have the unofficial scorecard with Harold Leatherman, and everybody else didn't have a scorecard, putting the score. Sometimes someone would say, I have him up, but they would never say 113, 113, whatever. They didn't go into such specific numbers. With the zone, they're doing that, and they're doing it and talking about it all the time. And none of them are professional scorers. They're commentators, and most of them, are not 100% concentrated on scoring the fight, which tends to be a little misleading. Like the Estrada fight, I thought it was a really close fight, and these guys had it wide, like it was 117 to 111, and the fight was not that wide. It was a legitimately close fight. It ended up being a couple round fight because Estrada, started losing rounds after the 6th round, but these guys had it wide, and I'm sure 2, 3, 4 people watching it are like, oh, Estrada won easily. What about those scores? Only in boxing, because of the commentators. That happens a lot. And I feel like I was influenced by the scores that they were giving. I thought they were giving way too much credit to Canelo. And I was like, no, this can't be. It can't, I started doubting myself. And I thought, I was thinking, the zone needs to stop doing that. Just have one guy that has an unofficial score like everybody else does. And these guys go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah, and these guys just concentrate on the fight, but also cut down on the talking. Let the fight speak for it freaking self. And I don't need, I'm watching TV, and there's probably nobody only listening to the audio, so I don't really need to hear every call of a missed shot or, or a landed punch, just kind of, I don't know.
And I think that's half of the problem, Gabe. Remember Teddy Atlas saying, this is one of the worst robberies ever. He starts ranting after the fights and makes everything look worse than it really is. With the Triple G fight against Canelo. It was a close fight. It wasn't.
Well, they harped on Jacobs in the southpaw stance and how ineffective it was, and And yeah, I like Brian Kenny. Like I think he's one of the guys that's like kept casual fans interested in boxing. Like he was great for it on ESPN, but he kind of fell into a Lampley trap of I'm gonna attack this one point. And Sergio Mora said, "Hey, that's what he stopped me with was switching into the right hand or the left hand stance and catching me with a right hook. He's very effective at it. He made Triple G stop in his tracks, but it was like we couldn't admit that Triple G was befuddled by the left-handed stance of Danny Jacobs. That was a close fight. I thought Jacobs won. I still do. I still say to any Triple G fan that disagrees with me, watch the last 20 seconds. Watch Triple G get hurt by Danny Jacobs by the left hook, and his legs go when he tries to punch at Jacobs, and he falls into Jacobs at the end of the fight. That's the end of the fight. Jacobs won that fight. But, and Brian, instead ignores that and kind of just kept hammering away. He just didn't think it's effective. And I think what he's missing is, like, when you watch Terrence Crawford do the same thing, it's like they become two different fighters. You're tapping into your right brain or your left brain. And so it's two different styles. When they're in the right-handed stance, they're a little more technical, a little more aggressive because they're behind more of a traditional jab and a guard. When they go into the left, it's a little more creative style and a little more fluid. It is a little more leaky, but usually like they can see the angles better and like get in that straight left and the right hook because the other guy's not used to it. And that I thought was kind of a basic thing that he just harped on for no reason, But
yeah, and the other thing about the fight. I thought that Jacobs. I thought Canelo clearly won the fight, regardless of my score.
No
I thought
question.
He won the fight. Yeah, and what I was seeing with Danny, I was kind of confused why he was changing stances. But you're right. I remember that somebody mentioned here in my house, oh, no, he did that with Triple G. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. Didn't remember that.
I watched him do it when he was training out in the wild card before he realized, before his cancer paralyzed him and he began that journey. This is when I did a video game show with him. I don't know if you ever saw that. We did a show called Fighter versus Writer where I played EA Sports Fight Night against Danny, and Danny played himself.
I didn't know that.
Oh, I'll throw the video up on my timeline if you want to see it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a very weird thing. I got kind of criticized for doing something with the fighters, but I thought it was hilarious. It was a hilarious way to review the game. So, but he was training there at the wild card, and he was fighting and sparring as a southpaw for like long stretches. And remember asking him about it. So it's something that he's developed over the long haul. He always wanted to be, a fighter from Brooklyn. He or from Brownsville rather. He wanted to. Was that the same thing? Brooklyn, Brownsville. He wanted to be a complete fighter. He wanted to be that kind of garden fighter, and I think that's part of it. I don't think there's anything wrong with fighting out of the different stance. As long as you know how to do it, and you don't get yourself in trouble when you're trying to do it. And if it's effective, I mean, it works for Terrence Crawford, and it worked for Danny Jacobs against Golovkin. So
as long as you're not Eric Morales in the last round against Manny Pacquiao just trying to be a jerk, that's okay, But just finishing with
that was
that
a beautiful thing, though.
Yeah, it was funny and it was great at the moment, but it was kind of dumb because he could have gotten knocked down there. But again, that was pure entertainment. But just getting my thoughts out of the way for the fight, I thought the main problem with Danny was that, and I saw that with Triple G too. I thought that was the main difference. I don't think he sits well with his punches. He doesn't put the full force. He's just too tentative, and what he actually does, he does damage. I think he caught Canelo a couple of times in a few rounds when he actually did it. But most of the fight, he's just like not sure of himself. Like he doesn't seem to be 100% sure that he's doing the right thing. And
again, I think that contributes to the weight loss. Him cutting the weight, to make it to 160, and then rehydrating and getting his body. That's what I mean by waking up. If you watch him, it takes him about 5 to 6 rounds for him to finally kind of see that, hey, I'm in a fight. And he starts letting his hands go, and he feels more like he's jamming with it. I really believe that it contributes from something like that, because you have to get – go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say something about the weight, and I was listening to you guys before I got in, and I was thinking about that. I have absolutely no sympathy for him because he put himself in that situation, and that's the problem with a lot of boxers right now. These guys drain themselves to get an advantage, but guess what? It also becomes a disadvantage at one point, and now he's at that point, and he needs to make a decision. And if that brought him to a loss, it also brought him a lot of wins. So he now probably needs to move up. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk about is Triple G. I am a big Triple G fan and been a big Triple G fan since the first time I saw him. And I noticed a couple of things the last few weeks. And I know that you guys have mentioned the whole Mexican appropriation thing, which I don't really care. I'm Mexican, and I never even think about that. I like the guy in the ring. I really don't pay too much attention to what they say outside the ring, but I did notice a couple of things. I think that the Zone is actually, and I think they're playing with a new persona for the guy, like the guy now with the sunglasses and during the fight. The guy speaking Russian only. The guy tweeted. It's
like when Floyd moved to Showtime.
Exactly. He tweeted something that was pretty uncharacteristic about it. That I've never seen him do, like criticize, immediately going to the offensive. Then the commentator said, "Oh, here's the bad boy instead of the good boy." Remember they used to call him the good boy because he said that.
Yeah, after immediately got booed. Yeah. Well, I mean, remember this: the Zone is a European base, platform. So it could be absolutely. You might be onto something.
No, I think it's just Amilcar pointed it out too. He was like, am I wrong? And come to think of it, when have you ever seen Triple G like that? He used to be the, but I mean, the interview with Radio Raheem. I mean, he was wearing a yellow jacket, but he spoke only in Russian. You're right.
Yeah,
and I think it's
like.
No, go ahead.
No, he went at it he went directly to say Abel is just playing games and just being a very unlike how he was marketed before. And I think they're playing the game and I think it's good because putting him as a villain is going to make give him way more appeal for the casual. A lot of casual Mexicans hate him, absolutely hate him. And a lot of Mexican Americans love him. There's a lot of.
It's going to strike interest again. Absolutely. Yeah.
There's more Mexican Americans that like him than real Mexican nationals. Mexican nationals don't like him. They probably don't know him that much. So I think now they're thinking, well, now Abel is gone. Now we need to figure out a new marketing persona for this guy because we need to make money. We're paying him a lot of money. And it looks obvious to me. I was just like, holy shit, this guy is not the same. And he probably isn't even the old good boy. That probably was a marketing scheme, too. So
I think, there's no question. It was shrewd marketing, man. I mean,
true.
He had a style. Yeah. It's supply and demand. Mexicans don't have a Chavez. Yeah. He fights like a Chavez. And it was like, boom, perfect. But let me ask you this. Is it, as a fellow Mexican-American, do you grow up in California, too?
I grew up in Tijuana. I'm Mexican, born in
Mexico. You're Mexican. Okay.
Yeah, I'm Mexican.
Is it that you don't mind, or that we're used to it? I was at Target on my way to the theater on Saturday. Right, just a quick story. And it was Cinco de Mayo, and or about to be, and my wife and I are coming down the elevator, and I see this white dude in it must be like a soccer, sweatshirt, Mexico. And he's saying real loud as we're approaching the aisle to buy my stuff. I was just buying cards I was going to write cards for all the other actors, right, for opening night. It was actually, it was Sunday. It was Cinco de Mayo. And the guy's really loud goes, I came here looking for some piñatas, but I couldn't find them. And I'm just thinking, you're in rapidly gentrifying, only 6% left, I think, of Hispanics, or 6% black. I think even less or equal of Hispanics in San Francisco, of all places. And you can't figure out to go to the Mission. You go to 24th Street where all the Mexican shops are. Yeah, I was like, dude, you may want to take the Mexico shirt off, but, I was like, and I walked up and like he was getting something. It was like at the self checkout, and he's like right next to me on my left, and I was thinking all that in my head, like, you might want to go to 24th Street and Mission. Right now Mexican businesses could really use your support. But I just couldn't look at him, and we just fucking left. I was used to it, but I'm kind of tired of it. But I'm also on the way to the theater. I don't want to get all mad at somebody.
I don't pay too much attention to those things. I just think that people, like, there's people, bad and good people everywhere. Some people are just going to have fun and whatever. Some people are just going to be assholes, And the whole Cinco de Mayo thing is really not a thing in Mexico. We don't even think about it.
It's not.
It's not
it's a thing
holiday.
that happened, but it's not a thing.
Yeah, it's an American holiday. Like
it is an American holiday.
It's an American holiday. People use it as an excuse to get drunk, and that's it. Whatever. I remember the first time. I've been here for 5 years, and in my job, I have a lot of most of them are white, and I'm very good friends with everybody. We have fun, whatever. Nobody's thinking about, we're not talking about those things. But I remember the first time that Cinco de Mayo came about, like, hey, are we going to celebrate? And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'll go down and have a beer. I don't care. And we had fun, and then we started talking about it, and they were like, you don't celebrate that? No. They were actually surprised. And we talked about it.
What it is, it's not Mexican Independence Day, which is in September. No. It commemorates the Mexican Army's victory over the French Empire at the Battle of Puebla on May 5th, 1862. Which is a pretty great thing. Anytime you can beat the French, I say it's a great thing. But it's not going to get too crazy about it.
Hey, show your colors, Vato.
I just want to finish with a couple more things and let you guys go. We were talking about the Canelo, how good he is right now, or what's his position, and the pound for pound list and whatever people want to talk about. And the guy, I'm not a fan. I don't like him personally, but I don't care about that. I told you already that whatever the guys say outside the ring, I really don't care about it. I like what I see inside the ring. That's what matters to me. In the sport of boxing, I'm a fan of boxing. I sometimes become a fan of a boxer. There's been like 5 over the course of the 30 years I've been watching. Chavez, of course, James Toney, Eric Morales, Gennady Golovkin. And I think that's about it, that I've become like generally like fans, and I follow them. But I follow the whole sport. So I really don't care. Sometimes I remember I hated Holyfield, then I loved them, then I hated him again, and it was just kind of like, it doesn't matter.
Loved Holyfield, dude.
These guys are
I loved Holyfield, until I met him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I hated him.
And then that changed my whole perspective of the guy.
When I was a kid, I started watching boxing because of Mike Tyson, because of the video game. And I was 8, 9 years old, and I saw him in person, and I was, this guy is real? I couldn't believe it. And that's how I became a fan. And Holyfield was the guy they were always comparing him to. So I hated Holyfield. I was like, no, that's the bad guy. But then when I started like really watching boxing, I found out that the guy was a great fighter, and I fell in love with him. But in the end, what I'm trying to say here is that right now, if I tell you that if Gennady Golovkin and Canelo fight, I'm going to be rooting for Canelo, I'll be a liar. I would be a liar. I would be rooting for Triple G because I'm a fan of him. But I don't care about specific guys in the end. These guys are going to eventually lose and fade away, and then others are going to come back in. It doesn't matter. To me, what matters is that if Canelo wins against Triple G, I want him to win. I want him to get his hand raised. But if the other guy wins, I want him to get his hand raised. Like, I want to see the right guy win, no matter if it's the guy that I'm not rooting for. I just want the sport to do good, and I also want that the right guy wins, because
you want
these
closure.
Guys go through a lot.
That's what you want.
I want closure. I want to see. That's the only thing I don't see with Canelo. I don't see him getting that win the way like Marcus beat Pacquiao, like the one Chavez beat Taylor, the way Eric Morales outboxed Manny. But, the fight that really gives you the satisfaction. Wow, now he's a legend. Now he stepped into the next level. Yeah, the win against Jacobs is great for his resume, but he did not do what people wanted to do yet. And I think that's what's missing.
I don't think he ever is,
right
though.
Now,
honestly, that's not his style.
Else.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, Canelo is a boxer But I can't even, I was telling somebody this today, earlier. I can't even remember who I was talking to, but I was telling them, like, when you look at a certain style of Mexicanos, how they fought, Canelo doesn't really produce the way Eric Morales used to come in, the way Chavez used to come in, even with like Barrera. I mean, he's got a killer instinct, but he's very methodical, and he kind of thinks before he plants, which I like.
He's a very good fighter.
He is a very good fighter, and he's a very good thinking fighter, and he's only going to take risks if he has to. So you're not going to see this guy go for broke. He tried with Danny Jacobs. If you watch that 7th round, he came out, I believe it was the 7th round, where he decided to put some real pressure. And then when he realized that he was reaching for Danny and he was getting clipped, he reverted back to what he was doing and what was working. And that's the Canelo you're going to get. And I don't ever think you're ever going to get a killer Canelo. You're just going to get what you see now.
He's kind of White Floyd.
Yeah, and what I is with I'm going to get to is that he is the best fighter in the world right now, proven in the ring, with record, not with
not mythical pound for pound.
Yeah, no, he is the best fighter in the game right now. Even if I didn't like the second fight against Golovkin, I scored for Golovkin, but he beat him in the ring. It was a close fight, but he did beat the boogeyman. And in the end, to me, that is bigger than any guy on all those guys' records. And even if I don't think he is even if he's not my favorite fighter, I do acknowledge him as the best. And I think that as long as people are not expecting him to be a Marquez, a Morales, a Chavez, and people start appreciating who he really is, a defensive counterpuncher with great defense and good functional power, then people are going to start appreciating who he is, a very, very good fighder. And that's where
I'm with you on the third fight because of the fact, like you said, closure. The boogeyman was out boogied in a lot of people's eyes, and I'm not completely convinced on both guys. I think in any given night, whoever has the slight edge of a better night is going to win, and that's what makes it really competitive between the two. Is Triple G getting older? Yeah. Is Canelo kind of finding his real natural weight? Absolutely. So I'm with you on. I'm not. If it happens, trust me, I'm gonna watch it. But if it doesn't, and it doesn't happen till after a Demetrius fight or a BJ Saunders fight or any other fight, I'm okay with it as well.
He needs that. He needs that belt. I mean, this Triple G's up against the clock.
He does need a belt.
He needs a belt, and to get that fight. And Canelo has said that. So there it is. As much as Triple G's earned his spot and earned that contract, he's not in the driver's seat here. He's in a car, but he's in a chase scene pursuing something. And
I still believe in the almighty dollar, though. I think that the almighty dollar, if the almighty dollar keeps calling for it, which is the fans, I think Canelo will still, without the belt, if it's there. Because if that persona is to make him a bad boy, just like we talked about.
It doesn't make any sense, though, without it. I mean, without all the belts. I mean, and I just think,
agree, we live in a strange time and a strange world in boxing. This universe of boxing it never surprises me, We'll see.
But I'm glad these two guys are there because if they fight again, it's going to be a good fight. And again, having those kind of guys at the top of the game, to me, it's better than having a Floyd. So again, thank you guys. Great talking to you guys. Hopefully we speak to you again next week.
Cool. All right, man. Peace.
Thank you.
Fight fans, you want to call in, certainly can. 347-215-7598. We're talking Danny Jacobs and Canelo Alvarez and Triple G here on Leaving the Ring. Want to patch in another caller here, Gabriel?
Overseas, you are live on Leaving the Ring.
Hello. Hello, Gabe, Dave. How's it going?
Good.
Hamid from the UK.
Hey, Hamid. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I missed the beginning of the show. I caught a bit of a milk car's call, but I just want to know, how did you guys score the fight the other day?
I didn't. I watched it, enjoyed it, felt that, but didn't get crazy on scoring. But I felt like it was an 8-4 fight, something like that. I didn't think it was 7-5. But there was some close.
Score.
That's your same score?
Yeah, that's how it scored there. I thought the Sky
Yeah, 8-4
commentary
sounds
was very
right.
bad.
Mhm.
I thought I gave Jacobs an extra round. Like I thought Canelo clearly won the the majority of the first 6 rounds. I think I gave Jacobs the 3rd round, but the Sky commentary was bad. I mean, Frotch had at the end of the fight, Frotch had a draw at 115. I think the zone commentary was bad, but Sky were too very biased towards Danny Jacobs. Like they were giving him rounds.
I've made a decision about commentary this weekend. Dave and I were talking about it, and I was fight today, and I've decided that, I can either watch a fight or I can get in an imaginary argument with the announcers that I'm not agreeing with, and distract myself from the fight. And I'm just not going to do that anymore. Like, it was kind of driving me crazy, and so I just kind of turned down the volume. I really enjoyed watching it this weekend without any sound. It sounds like the ultimate boxing nerd thing, but the commentary just gets in the way. A draw? How do you have that fight a draw?
That's what I was trying to see. The only other guy I've seen who thought it was either a draw or Jacobs. One, I think, was from SN Boxing, Adam, I can't pronounce the second name. I think is Abrahamov.
So about Saturday Night Boxing? Is that what you're talking about?
Adam Abramovich. Yeah, he had it. He had it for Jacobs, and then he rewatched it and had it 115, 113 for. I'm like, that's a big swing, man. You had one guy winning it wide, and then the other guy all of a sudden winning after everybody was like, "What are you seeing?"
I like Adam, man, but come on, Adam. Come on, you didn't change your mind.
Yeah, are you sure? I watched it again real quick. Yeah, put my Canelo shades on. Had a couple tecates.
I don't think it was a close fight. Like, when Danny Jacobs fought Golovkin, even though he got dropped, that was a really close fight. Like, I thought Jacobs won that live. I had to rewatch it to see who actually won. I still think that was a much closer fight. With this, I thought Canelo clearly won the fight. Like, don't get me wrong, it was competitive.
It was a tight, one-sided fight.
Yeah, competitive, arguably closer, but I wouldn't say at the end of the fight they could have went either way. I thought there was clearly one guy, clearly won a competitive fight. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. And Danny, for whatever reason, fought that kind of fight where he left some things on the table. And even, I think, by the 5th, his trainer, Andre Rozier, was like, don't do just enough to say you lost. You got to, let your hand go. You got to get in there. And Danny started to fight with more purpose. I think it was maybe around more the 7th. And he came out in the 8th and he started to let his hands go and start to be quick on his feet. But again, I just think, the amount, who knows what they weighed on fight night. But the last time they put on, they said 16 pounds, something like that. Mike Basil, the trainer, told me, who was also there for this time. So who knows? Maybe, they always hope to put on something like 15 pounds to 16 pounds of water weight so they can carry it through the fight and have more energy.
Yeah.
More like water you can pack in, more you can carry, more fuel you have through the fight. That's the theory. In practice, though, if you keep doing it past a certain age, maybe your body wants to be at a higher weight. Danny's a big guy.
He's big.
They list him at 5'11 and a half, but he always felt a little more taller than that to me. And just a big frame. I've never understood how he makes the weight and how he's made it for so long. I mean, it's brutal.
The thing that I didn't get was in the first half of the fight, the first 6 rounds, I think he had to do that. People are saying he was shoe shining and he was running, whatever. I think that's a bit being overcritical because I don't know. The thing that comes to mind is Danny Jacobs, I thought, did well in the first 6 rounds. He didn't win. I don't think more than 1 or 2 rounds. I think I give him 2, but I think he could have got knocked out. The thing is he hiding a bad chin? Because I don't think he has much confidence in his chin, the way he's on his toes.
No, he took some shots in this fight. I mean, I just think he's not looking to get hit. That uppercut that he took late in the fight from Canelo and some body shots, and still kept coming forward and trying to get his. No, Danny. People say he's got that bad chin. He got knocked down by a hard punter, Dmitry Purok, who's kind of a shooting star. That was as good as it got. But he also was held down by the ref trying to get up. And he still, he said that to me after the fight, and he's kept his story straight, the same, ever since. And that's what the tape shows. So Who knows what would have happened if he was able to get up? Who know? We don't know. So I don't know if he has a bad chin or if you just get caught sometimes in this game, like he did with Sergio Moro.
Yeah, the thing I was trying to say, like the way I don't know if his chin then, if it's the balance, the way he throws his shots, I don't think he sits on his shots. Like he slaps it. To me, it looks like a bit more than he should, because I think he's a good puncher, but when he boxes, he doesn't really. I don't know, like if you compare
his punches look
he gets
weird.
out of position.
Yeah,
he gets out of position.
Yeah,
that's his biggest
problem.
problem.
He does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember said that
true.
prior to the Triple G fight, was that Danny was going to need to not put himself in awkward positions along the ropes, particularly, or he's going to get knocked down, and he got knocked down along the ropes in an awkward position. But he also recovered fast, as he tried to say, that Bird denied him, and you saw him in the Triple G fight that he got up and boxed pretty well the rest of that round.
I agree with that. I don't think
he's good on the move, but he waits too long. The defense, especially as you get older, maybe less aggressive. Your reflexes slow. All of a sudden, you start falling in love with your defense and think that's the thing that's going to win you the fight. He does those punches weird. He doesn't fully turn over. People call it slapping. You would be stopped by the ref if you were actually slapping with an open glove. What he does is not fully turning over the shot at an angle that everybody else finds appropriate for punching. But it sure works for him. He's knocked people out like that. Knocked out Caleb Truax in the 12th round.
Yeah.
That's not a guy. That's a guy that's like a durable trial horse. It's going to be like a gatekeeper.
I agree with you.
Yeah, like I said.
Golovkin, all right. Well, I was just going to say, I agree with you because against Golovkin, people are saying he was doing the same thing, but I don't think that, because against Golovkin, I thought he outboxed him in majority of the rounds. I thought he lost the fight in the 12th round because I think Golovkin finished strong, but against Canelo, I think he was a bit more fundamentally flawed. Like the way he was, his technique was a bit off. Like, against Golovkin, I don't think he was the same.
Well, here was two things that you could point out in the Golovkin fight. Golovkin didn't go for the body; he used his jab a lot. With Canelo went to that body religiously, and Danny felt it. It made Danny kind of backpedal and kind of rethink what he was going to throw. When he did the pity pat jab, a lot of times I sat there. I know some folks were like, "Why is he doing that?" Well, he was cautious of the return. I mean, you're talking about one of the best counter punchers in the business. And when Danny missed, Canelo more likely made him pay that night. I was telling this to Gabriel before we went on the air. I said, when we think of slow starters, for a lot of reasons, we're not thinking of Danny Jacobs, but he's a slow starter. To me, he's a more 15-rounder kind of fighter. He seems to come on really on those late rounds. I imagine if we were still in the era of 15 rounds, would this be a different type of fight for Danny Jacobs?
That's a good point. I think his game plan wasn't the worst. Like I've seen some people being a bit overcritical. I was rooting for him as well. Like I don't see how you could hate someone like that. Like someone who come back from cancer to end in the streak of Triple G. I thought he gave Triple G a very good fight as well. I was rooting for him, but I agree with you the fact that he is a bit of a slow starter. But I just think Canelo was just much better on the night, especially the first half of the fight, because I think Canelo did everything he was expected to do. Like, he went to the body. The Canelo's jab impressed me as well. But the thing I don't get, like, some people are trying to, disparage Canelo because they were saying the rematch with Golovkin was a robbery, and now some of them are trying to say this fight was close as well. I don't think this fight was close, and the rematch with Triple G, I thought he beat him fair and square. I had to draw live, but I don't see how you could call that robbery because Canelo backed him up, and Canelo, people keep bringing up like Golovkin managed to mark up Jacobs' face, but if you're gonna go by stuff like that, then Canelo marked up both Jacobs and Triple G in the rematch as well. So, like, I don't know if people they change their standards for when is their favorite fighters.
Oh, they do. They absolutely do change their standards when it comes to their fighters.
Yeah, come on, come on, Ahmed. You know what that they do. Come on.
That's a good point.
This is boxing. That's what everybody does. This is the
head movement.
It's just
head movement and body punching was the story of the fight. What Max Kellerman would say. That was the story of the fight. That confused Danny Jacobs. You had a guy that was moving his head really well, coming forward, throwing body shots. When you jab, he would jab with you, and Canelo's jab was a stiffer and stronger jab, which was surprising when Danny's the longer guy. Like I said, Danny to me is just a very late starter, and by the time he figures it out, and you saw that, I thought he started taking the 10th and 11th. Even the 12th, it was very close. When he starts figuring it out, it's too late. It's too late.
That's true. Yeah, I gave him, I think, the third. I think I might have given him the 6th or 7th. And I gave him, I think it was the 9th and 10th or 11th, two of those rounds. I was thinking of Bob saying, do you think if Ward was still active and he was a light heavyweight or super middleweight, do you think him and Canelo would have been a fight that could have been made, or do you think there would be too much size disadvantage?
I think too much size. Ward is a very big guy. Me and Gabe have met Ward numerous times. Stood right. I mean, he's a big guy. Ward. I remember talking to Ward when he just got out of the Olympics and he was fighting in the HP Pavilion in San Jose at the Shark Tank, and he was talking about that in a few years he wanted to go to heavyweight. I don't know if he could have ballooned up that much, but I mean, going to light heavyweight, obviously he did, and that I was able to see. He's a big guy.
So how big is Danny Jacobs? Because I remember people are saying, like, the thing I don't get is after the Triple G fight, they start saying he was a cruiserweight, and I thought that was
that was all nonsense. That's all nonsense. He was about 176. They're so whiny, the Gnostics. They they just get all crazy and
hatred for
and
Danny.
Whiny. That,
weird, man.
Yeah, it's really
crazy.
Just
I don't get it.
I don't follow that crowd, and I just don't really get into it. Like I feel like my timeline is actually filled with some pretty intelligent people. Kurt Emhoff and you, Dave, and just people I interact with. I don't deal with trolls. If you seem like you're a troll and it's an anonymous account, like you're out, you're blocked, you're gone. Like I just don't need that in my timeline. So I didn't see any of the Danny Jacobs hate, but I can imagine it. And sorry, styles make fights. You'd have to just erase that axiom from boxing if you got rid of movers. That they exemplify that. They're a specific style, and a lot of these guys. I'm not saying I'm the most experienced fighter in the world, but I've been in the ring and enough to know kind of what my style is. And so until you've done that and experienced that, like, just shut up, if you don't know what your own style is. That's what I kind of think. And not to if you've never been in the ring, you can't talk about it. But kind of in this regard, there's different ways to approach things. Why would you, if you're watching a guy with a knee brace, want to just stand there and trade with him? Don't you want to make him move? It's boxing. It's not stand and trading,
So how big is Danny Jacobs? Because I thought
he's like 6 foot.
Bigger.
I would say they list him at 5'11" and a half, but I'd say he's 6 foot, maybe 6'1". But I'm 5'8" and 3/4. Everybody's taller than me, so.
But he was towering over Canelo. I was thinking he's probably.
Canelo's only like 5'8". Like, I felt like he was as tall as me, or maybe shorter, like a straight 5'8".
Because I was thinking if Danny doesn't get the rematch to Triple G middleweight now, the fact that he's lost to Canelo, I think he might as well move up to super middleweight, because I think that's an open division. Him and maybe someone like Benavidez would be a really good fight, and he could maybe even clean that up before Canelo comes up, because I think if Canelo comes up, he got the potential to clean that division up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long way till then. I think that he's got business at middleweight right now, and I think he wants to be that Mexican unified middleweight champion, and it's right there in front of him. He's in the prime of his career. It's got to, if Golovkin's able to beat Andrade, he's beaten Golovkin before and drawn with him before, although I thought he lost that fight. I thought he won the second fight. But he's on the cusp of a giant windfall, and so I just think that But also it makes me think of, I was watching him and I'm like, is he fighting safe like a guy that's already made $300 million, or that his $300 million or 365 is incumbent on him winning, sort of like the way Floyd fight became, and
that's a good one.
It's like you do lose a little bit of fire, you're kind of protecting that, but he's always been at this pace.
I thought that was a risky fight to take in what was it, like
with Jacobs?
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah,
I give him props. That's why I've always rated him higher than even Golovkin, even though I thought Golovkin might have won the first fight, because I think the guys he's fought, like Trout, Lara, these guys were stylistically nightmares for him, and he fought him. I know Golovkin, people are saying could have fought Lara, but he didn't fight him, and there was other guys, even now Andrade, Charlo, Triple G, it looks like doesn't want to, well, I don't know if it's him or his team, but it looks like they don't want to entertain risky fights. And I think Canelo's always took on fights that he hasn't had to, and that's why I think out the three, Jacobs, Golovkin, and Canelo, I think Canelo is clearly the number one guy. I would like to see a rematch between Triple G and Jacobs, because I'm not too sure who the number two guy is at the moment, because I thought Jacobs gave him a close fight, and I don't think the rematch with Golovkin and Canelo was like the outcry, like the people were talking. I think Canelo won fair and square, so maybe that'll be a good fight. What did you guys think of the undercard before I go? Because I thought that was a bit of a drag on.
Well, we talked about the undercard a little bit on the earlier part of the show, but I was very excited by Virgil Ortiz. I thought he, or maybe we didn't. No, we talked about it earlier in the day, Dave.
Yeah, we did.
Virgil Ortiz Jr., man, I love watching this kid fight. He's super dangerous. Brings it very classic, no frills style. Reminds me, dare I say, a little bit of Tito Trinidad. And the way he shoots that right hand, but can come back with the hook. The way he interchanges those two punches is super dangerous, as we saw him just absolutely beat down and get out of there. Mauricio El Maestro Herrera. I mean, he was playing chin music on El Maestro, and it was, brutal knockout. He was out before he hit the ground, and it was
he put him asleep,
a combination
man, while he was standing. That's something to say.
Place.
Exactly. Now, granted that Mauricio is past his prime, shouldn't have been there. We talked about this on last week, but that's what you're supposed to do with a gatekeeper.
He didn't look good at the weigh-in.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
No, he looked like he made weight. I mean, he was in shape, but like the muscle tone, it was like, oh shit, man. This isn't going to be good.
And I
was impressed.
Yeah, I mean, just wow. I mean, his punches are just hard, and I like the way he carries himself. I look forward to seeing more and more of him. I think you mentioned this because we saw this on Twitter where folks were like, if Ortiz had the mouthpiece of Teofimo Lopez, he would be a star. But a mouth only gets you so far. What counts in the ring is what gets you to that legacy. And that's one thing that my grandfather, my uncle always used to talk about. They loved their fighters that fought with their fists, not with their mouths. Because they were the guys that are going to be more memorable. And Ortiz is a throwback. First of all, he's Mexican, so he's going to come in with that Mexican mentality, which is be very humble and just do your job, get the job done, and that's what he did on Saturday night.
Yeah, I think I was more impressed with him than Teofimo. I think Teofimo has I think he's been a bit overhyped. I think Virgil Ortiz needs to get a bit more exposure or hype on, because to me he looks like a guy at the moment who could probably compete with a lot of the top 10 welterweights. I was going to ask one more thing before I go. With this fight with Canelo and Jacobs, I thought this was the biggest fight of the year, and it being on an app on DAZN. Do you think Joshua Wilder, if that happens, do you think that could end up on DAZN or no? Is it too big of a fight?
I don't see why it wouldn't be able to. But I mean, it all depends on the networks. If Showtime wants to do a collaboration, which they've shown in the past with HBO. I think what it just boils down to is subscribers. Who's got the bigger fan base? And at the moment, I think Showtime is going to say they do. So I don't know. I leave it up to those guys to figuring it out. I hope wherever it ends up at, I'd like it to end up on DAZN because it's the cheaper cost. It's the more reasonable cost than paying a big pay-per-view, amount of money. But
all right, that's okay. Did any of you guys catch the Batavia fight? Because I haven't still seen that.
Great
fight.
Great
pretty
fight.
great. It's his opponent had a funky style. I just think, and Batavia fights like if the Rock'em Sock'em Robots had legs. It's a little bit stiff. You always feel like somebody's going to hit him and pop his head off. But
Batavia came out with the Stockton slap. He came out with the Stockton slap, man. I mean, he was all over his opponent. If anything, Batavia was basically telling, Batavia was telling me when I was watching it, he was like, you guys need to turn off DAZN. You need to pay attention to what I'm doing. You guys, that was a chess match on DAZN. This is a fight. And that's what he gave us on Top Rank,
Yeah, Kalajdzic, that cat he was just funky, man. Styles make fights, and sometimes styles make awkward fights, and it was tough. They kind of kept crashing into each other, but Beterbiev is just he's got rocks for hands, man, and he just kept letting them go.
Jesus, he does.
And and just finally it caught his opponent and got him going, and the ref was pretty merciful in the stoppage. I was fine with it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think I'd like to see him and Kovalev fight. I think Kovalev and Yard are gonna fight. It looks like in June. So if Kovalev wins that, that's a fight I'd really like to see. But thanks for taking the call. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for calling in.
I
gotta tell you, man. But Beterbiev as a light heavyweight, the way we felt about Kovalev when Kovalev was knocking everybody out with a straight right, he looked like a beast. Beterbiev, I mean, he does not only does he look like a beast, but he's almost like a mountain lion that just attacks you, and he doesn't stop. The guy doesn't stop. On the co-main event was Gabriel Flores Jr., who came out and had a great reception, great job by them, over 10,000 fans that showed up, and they got their money worth. Gabe Flores looked like he was planting his feet. A lot better than what he did in his last outing on a top-ranked card. I was very critical about him, still saying he's very young, 17. It all comes down matchmaking. They got the right opponent in front of him, and he got to showcase to his local fans that if he gets the right guy, he can actually produce some really exciting KO reel, and that's what he did. So whoever went out there, man, they had a blast. But yeah. I truly enjoyed the Top Rank card. I wish I could have went, but like I said, I had family come over for my birthday. But I watched it and I enjoyed it. I was going back and forth. I had them both. I had the Stockton card on one TV, and I had the DAZN on the other side to side, and I was going back and forth. So, anyways, want to patch in another caller?
Sure. Let's see. Oh, mi favorito. 510, you're live on Leave It in the Ring.
Hey, Gabe. Hey, Dave. This friend over here in Richmond. How you guys doing?
What's up,
Good,
man?
How you doing?
Good, man. I'm sorry I missed out on that Stockton card, too, man. I wanted to go really bad, man. I really wanted to go. Which would have been on Friday,
Yeah, I'd like to get out there, man, to the Central Valley to see a fight. At some point, there's going to be an open date, and we'll be able to do it. Fresno or Stockton or something. We got to represent, we got to go check out maybe Jose Ramirez. He fights Maurice Hooker maybe there. That might be something. They're talking about that fight. Top Rank is. What's on your mind?
I grew up in Chico, man, and my uncles, man, they would go to all the fights in Sacramento all the time up in the 80s, man. They went to go see George Foreman when he had his first comeback. They went to go see all the Willie Jordan fights, Tony the Tiger Lopez, all those fights, man. The Valley, they support boxing, man. They really have. They always will, So that's good, man. I'm really happy for them to having a bunch of good fights over there. Earlier you guys were talking about the zone broadcasters or whatever. Now it's been like a topic on social media. I really didn't have a problem with them. I really thought they were kind of right down the middle, Chris Mannix was right down the middle. He's a little more he's a journalist, right? So he was right down the middle. Sergio Mora, I felt like he was right down the middle also.
I like Sergio Mora.
Dude, I really like Sergio Mora.
I was telling that to Gabriel. I was like, because that's what I was bringing up about how folks were complaining about the commentary. But I was telling Gabriel, I said, I can't really comment on it because I didn't really listen to everything. I was busy. But then when I did listen to certain things, my thing is this: is that, like Gabriel said, if you're watching a fight and you're solely going to pay attention to what they're saying, you're going to miss the action, because you're going to get upset on whatever they're saying. The only thing that I thought that was kind of weird is that when you saw like Lamont Roach Jr. fighting, other guys that were in the ring, on the undercard, they were bringing up Danny Jacobs and Canelo throughout those fights. And I thought that was weird. I was like, these guys should be focusing on what's happening in front of them. It was almost like they were trying to still sell us Canelo and Danny Jacobs. But other than that, I really didn't have a problem. I think that Sergio Mora does a very stellar job. I think he calls the fight. I think you needed a certain balance, where it's just one guy's going to be the color analyst and the other guy is a fighter, an ex-fighter, and has the experience of knowing what's happening in the ring and outside the ring or what they're watching. So I enjoyed it. Like I said, I didn't tune in to everything they were saying. I heard there was a lot of bias, but I didn't hear that a lot. And the reason is because I did have two streams going on at once. So I was only able to focus with one ear and my two eyes focus on the fights. So I'm with you, man.
This is probably just mad. Some of the Triple G fans are mad that they weren't dumping on Canelo enough. That's what it is, man. That's what it really is. They want to talk about. All they want to hear is people complaining about the card. Honestly, I don't want to hear about the cards. Everybody, like earlier Juan called, right? Everybody has their own opinion on the same fight, man. Everybody does. It's just human nature, And
absolutely.
So it's not that people need to knock it off with the judges are crooked or whatever, man. That's baloney, man. Because it's
the easiest way of getting, of not really putting any real informative input. Me and Gabriel, we've been at this game over 10 years, and we've talked about this, and we laugh at it. Some folks think they could get us upset on Twitter. Here's the thing: is that Gabriel was saying that if you look like a troll, he blocks you. If you ever watch me, I rarely interact with folks on social media. Unless I know you. Unless I know that you do really do good coverage, I do respond or I'll interact. But more likely, if I respond to you, is if you're gonna send something in on the Leaving the Ring Gmail, because the majority of hardcore boxing fans and Leaving the Ring fans, that's where they respond. And I know, okay, they really do listen to the show. They're just not an assumption, because we've had this happen to us many times. We put up a title on YouTube or on even in an article, and they would go off of the title, the headline, and they wouldn't even read the substance of what we were talking about, So I look at a lot of these fanboys as a bunch of guys that they're not even watching the fight. They're just watching what their fighter does. They're not even enjoying. They don't even have they can't even, comprehend that there's two guys in a ring. You're watching two men try to beat each other, and it's a compliment. And sometimes you get two fighters that are able to complement each other so well that it's so difficult to score it. And that's a thing of beauty. That's something that you should appreciate. Gennady Golovkin can't seem to get over the hump of Canelo, and Canelo can't seem to get over the hump over Gennady Golovkin. So they complement each other, and it makes it a conversation piece because these two guys are so well matched, and they're both there. So that should be the main focus of how well matched they are, and how difficult it is for one another to beat each other. It's really rare in the fight game that you get that, and especially when it's time for it to happen.
And that's another thing too. I was listening to you guys talking with Juan, right? And Juan sounds like he wants to, and I don't blame him. He wants to see the Triple G Canelo number 3 sooner than later. Me personally, I'm in no big hurry, right? Like I've kind of already seen. I would like to see like some fresh new matchups, right? But
right.
There's also a part of me, man, because when I was younger, I was a huge Juan Manuel Marquez fan, right? Like I went to go see him up in Lake Tahoe, and then I went to go see him. He was on the undercard of the Chico Corrales fight. People forget, but he was on that undercard of that fight, of the Corrales Castillo fight. I went
Yes.
to go see him in Vegas too. So I was a big time Marquez fan, right? So I kind of lived and died with him. And by the time that Manny and Marquez had got to the fourth fight, people didn't want to watch it no more. I remember that, man. Like, people weren't excited about it. You know, in spite of all three fights being awesome, people, you know, Marquez hadn't gone over the hump, and people weren't that excited. Well, at the end, I think number 4 was probably the best one out of all of them, man. It was like Hagler Hearns. That one was one of the craziest fights I've ever seen in my life.
Arguably, the first and fourth one were the best. You know, the first one where Marquez gets dropped, four times in the first round, but was able to rally back into the fight. That was phenomenal. That was a big shake for any Mexican fan at the time, because I remember when he beat Barrera, Manny Pacquiao, I was like, oh shit, okay, well Marquez should be able to, you know, let's really see what Pacquiao's really about. And when he was able to do that, it was a shocker. But that fourth one as well, like you said, man, that was just, there was cuts and blood, and man, you talk about some real solid punches being landed on both men. It was there. It was a hell of a night. Where Gennady and Canelo, honestly, both their fights, I didn't see anything really like that. I just saw a very competitive fight. You know, I saw some big shots, but there are more show and tell shots, you know, where like Canelo's face would turn and then come back and was able to look at Triple G and smile at him. Same thing with Triple G. His head would spin back and then come back. Where with Marquez and Pacquiao, you didn't really see that because they were following up with big shots. There was really no time to give you that camera look, you know, and that's what I missed with the Canelo and Gennady Golovkin. But like I said, I do appreciate it because it's a very complimentary fight because they complement each other so well because they're so evenly matched, you know, in their style. Styles make fights.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm more speaking towards like the attitude of fans towards the next rematch, right? Like, we're kind of tired of it already, right? But sometimes, in spite of people being tired of it, it ends up being the best one out of all the fights. You know, like number 2 was Barrera Morales. The best one, in my opinion, was number 3. That one was like high level chess with anger and coraje, and they really hated each other by the time they got to the third one. That was my favorite one.
Really, with the winning gloves? When they came out with the winning gloves? Yeah, I don't know.
They hated each other, dude. They hated each other, and they did not want to back down the whole fight. That was an awesome fight. The first one was awesome, obviously. The first one was awesome, but that third one was like on a different level mentally, man. They hated each other. You know, they really did not want to.
When I was down in Reno covering when God, what was that guy's name from the Contenders, the bald dude, Jesse Brinkley, and he beat Curtis Stevenson. Okay, well Barrera was there, and it was right after that. He was out sitting out dining with his family, and I caught eye of him right away, and I was like, oh shit, that's Marcos and Barrera. And I went up to him, and he was really gracious, man. First off, I went up to him, I introduced myself to him, and he told me to sit down, and we started talking, and then I decided to fit in an Eric Morales question to him, and he looked at me and he goes, yo no quiero hablar de él. That's all he said. I don't want to talk about him, and that was it. And I was like, yeah, they don't like each other.
that was an all-time rivalry, man. I was like, I know, like the general boxing fans don't recognize it as such, but it was right there with Muhammad Ali versus George. Versus Smoky Joe Frazier, man. They hated each other that much, just as much as those two. They hated each other too, man. I mean, it's cool they made up now. Now they're against their friends and stuff, but back then, man, either you were a Barrera guy or a Morales guy. You couldn't be both. Back in the day. And me, I was like the oddball. I was the Marquez fan. Like everybody's arguing over those two, and I'm arguing for Marquez, but different times. So I don't know. I'm looking forward. Like I want to see Canelo maybe fight Andrade, right? And Triple G, he can fight wherever he wants. That's another thing too. Why do people expect Canelo to prop up Triple G so much, man? Why does Triple G's career only revolve around Canelo? I don't get that part. Why does Canelo always have an obligation to fight this guy? Like it's been like people have been throwing darts in from the beginning to fight Triple G,
Well, you're forgetting that Triple G, as much as he hashtag all the bouts, he hashtag I want to fight Canelo. It wasn't the other way around. I don't ever remember Canelo saying I want to fight Triple G. He wasn't chasing down Triple G. Am I wrong? It has always been
right.
Triple G wanting to fight him. So I think that the sourness comes from Triple G and his fan base, and that's why the attachment is there. I think I was telling you, right, Gabriel? I was like, man, you could really tell that Canelo's just done and over with this. He's like, dude, I'm over this already. I fought the guy twice already. What more do you guys want? There's other things out there for me to accomplish. And I think it's everything said and done at the end of the day, I think Canelo is going to give him that third match because Canelo is Mexicano and he's going to hold himself to a pride, that he feels that he has to uphold to for the Mexican people because just like, Juan had said, people from Mexico don't like Triple G because they don't even know much about him. They're going to, if Triple G continue to, attach his name to Canelo, those fans are going to start calling for that fight as well. But I agree with Gabriel all the way. There's got to be something involved with that. G's going to have to do something. Go get a belt. And Canelo even said that as well.
Spice it up.
And Canelo said
up.
that, and it's a boss
Yep.
move the way Floyd used to do boss moves like that, which is telling other people what to do. Like, as much as you guys have a good 100 million, I make 365. And I'm also testing 365, by the way, and you're not. Go fight Andrade. He's the toughest matchup in the division for Canelo, for Triple G, for anybody. You go beat him so I don't have to. Bring me that belt, and we'll do it again. It's that simple.
Yeah, he needs some variety to his fights, man. Triple G does, man. He's the only two guys he fought that were worth anything have been down Jacobs and Alvarez his whole career. He's almost 40 already. Is that Canelo's fault? Is that Dane Jacobs' fault? No, that's Triple G's fault, man. That's some variety. That's good to your resume, man.
Well, most people would tell you though. The fan base of Gennady Golovkin though will tell you that. Did you forget that everybody avoided Triple G, even Sergio Martinez?
Yeah.
So, it's really hard to argue with them. It's even hard to argue with, like I said, it's trying to make sense to something that they don't want to even, that's right put in front of them. I just don't find the time to do it, man. I agree with you. I agree with a lot of callers. Look, if you want to see the Triple G trilogy, I'm all for it. If it makes sense. But if Canelo opts to say, nah, I don't want to do it right away, make him go fight for a bout. I'm all for that as well. I don't even think Triple G is in such of a rush. If he was, why is he getting in the ring with Rose? If he was really trying to make a statement, think about this. If he was really trying to make a statement and corner Canelo for that third fight, immediately, wouldn't you have wanted to come back with one of the most dangerous fights that was available for you, which would have been Demetrius Andrade? That to me would have been a statement. The money. Yeah, that would have been a statement to me. But some folks would lead you to believe, like, we just got off of 2 tough fights and blah, 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 and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, hey, this is boxing. This isn't tennis. It's not golf.
Yeah, he's worried about risking the Canelo fight, but it doesn't seem like Canelo's worried about risking his fight, He just fought Danny Jacobs, Canelo doesn't really care about that stuff. It doesn't seem like it, right? He's not, concentrating on having a rematch with Triple G.
No.
He's concentrating on making his career, making a resume.
You could throw in, if you want to criticize Canelo by saying his debut with DAZN was against Fieldings in the UK, go right ahead, but my response would be this. Well, it was in unknown territory. 168. Was he the weakest link of the 160-pound belt holders? Absolutely, but it was unknown territory. It could have went the opposite.
It was an interim fight. It was legitimately an interim fight, too. It was in December, a few months after the fight with Triple G, right?
Yeah.
Triple G's taking an interim fight almost a year later. Almost a year later, he's taking an interim fight, come on, man. And I'm not excited to watch that. I mean, I don't want to dump on Triple G. I respect him. But at the same time, man, it's like, dude, don't talk all that mess and not back it up. Huh?
Yeah, I like Triple G, but you gotta point out the obvious. I was really tough on Canelo. I mean, geez, I made it on Modesto B here in Modesto on the front cover. I was on the front cover of my criticism of Canelo Alvarez. The guy hung up on me during an interview. You know, because
Yeah,
of the
I did the
criticism.
first interview with Canelo when he arrived. When Golden Boy signed him, and
Right.
introduced him to media. I was the only English-speaking media that showed up on a Sunday, on like in downtown Los Angeles. I forget what it was for, but I think it was pre the Cotto fight. And yeah, I mean, I've been covering him a long time, and the journey that he's been on, I don't see how anybody can deny that he's the best in the game at this point.
You
He's
win
done the
over
old
your
champion
fans by
thing.
fighting the people that you're supposed to. That's how you do it in boxing.
You
You
know,
win over your
and-
critics.
Yeah,
You
he's
know?
had it his way, but that's the way it is with stars. People need to quit bitching about that. It's like you don't want there to be a league, you don't want a fighter union or association, but you do want to just bitch about the stars getting to dictate, and while ignoring that, okay, it's just a business. It's just as Ludabella called it, a series of individual business transactions.
Right.
Every one of them is different depending on the clout that the guy throwing down the contract has. And that's just the way it is. That's the way it's always going to be until it changes.
And
But-
he's picked up the torch. He's picked up the torch that Manny Pacquiao and De La Hoya dropped, right? Being
Yeah.
the top name in boxing and fighting everybody.
Mhm.
I don't think he won every fight against Triple G either. I think he's 1-1 against Triple G, right? But De La Hoya didn't beat everybody he fought against, right? Neither did Manny. But they fought everybody, man. So, even if you think Canelo has 1 or 2 L's more than he actually does, he's still a top fighter, man. He's still the guy giving the fans what they want, man. The top
To
fighter,
me,
man.
Canelo is scratching the itch that Floyd never did. I mean, he did early in his career, but when he became pay-per-view guy, like that career is just very lacking to me. He fought guys that past the time that they would have been relevant to him. I mean, Danny still had a lot to give at 160. It was probably the right timing to get him for Canelo. It's probably Danny's. I bet you it's his last fight at 160, but still,
Right.
It was still a dangerous fight, and he took it. Boxing is timing is everything. But he fought Lara when Lara was prime, and Trout when Trout was good, or still prime. He's still quality, but not top. He's not going to be the very tippy top anymore. We only got about 19 minutes left. Let me ask you this.
Oh, thank you.
Who do you like this weekend? Hurd versus Williams. It's supposed to be a preview of that. We haven't even talked about it.
Oh, Jarrett Hurd all the way, man. I think he's just relentless, man. I got Jarrett Hurd, man, by late round stoppage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's just relentless. He reminds me of Margarito, man. He's a Mexican Margarito, man. He's just relentless, man. I love watching him fight. I'm also excited for the ESPN card too, man. Yeah.
He's got size on his side. He's 6'1", 76.5-inch reach. Out of the orthodox style against 5'10", 72.5-inch reach Julian Williams, who's got 1 KO lost. He's 26-1-1 with 16 KOs. Hurd is 23-0 with 16 KOs. Williams has been 4-0, I believe, since losing to Jamal Charlo in a fifth round knockout. Just obliterated with an uppercut, knocked down twice in the second, and twice in round 5, or once in the second, and twice in round 5. And it was just, he just overmatched. He's gotten some wins underneath his belt after that. He went the distance with the Ishii Smith. He beat Joseph Conley right before that, fighting twice in 2017. Only fought twice again in 2018 with a majority decision over Nathaniel Gallimore. And then he stopped Francisco Castro in 2. Why he's only fighting twice a year, I have no idea. Makes no sense. But, here he is against Jarrett Hurd.
Let me put my 2 cents with this, with Williams really quick. I'm with you, Fernando, about the stoppage. I'm looking at Hurd stopping him in the later rounds. The only way that doesn't happen, though, is that Williams looked at the Lara fight and can implicate what Lara did in the beginning of those rounds, but not gas out, not get walked down, because that's what Hurd is known for. Big guy, walks into your punches, takes your punches in the high on the gloves, and it just slowly chops away. He's a slow starter. Williams, to me, is going to have to fight better than the way Lara did. He's going to have to be more conditioned. I just don't see that happening. I know a lot of folks have been high on Julian Williams. I've never have been. I've never seen what people have saw in him. He looks like an average guy. We saw that with Charlo, and I think he makes the same mistake. I think he's gonna, have his success early on in those rounds. But when Hurd walks him, catches those punches, and gets in close and lands the bigger, heavy Margarito punches, it's just gonna be all over for him. So I'm gonna go with a 8th round stoppage for Hurd over Williams.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I like to see those PBC guys maybe a year or two from now, Hurd and or Spence against Canelo. Maybe that'd be awesome too, man. I think those will be great fights eventually too. But thank you for taking my phone call. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Peace.
We got room for one more caller if you want to patch one in, unless you want to give your take. Let me ask you, what's your take about Hurd and Williams? And
I think it'll go the distance, but
so,
what's that? Yeah, I think it'll go the distance, but I don't think it'll be an easy fight for Williams. He's going to have to make a decision to kind of move away and try to get away from the onslaught. I just like Jared Hurd in this. I think this side. I think he's a smarter fighter than just being a big guy.
I agree.
Dealing with Lara,
I agree.
After dealing with Lara, I think Williams is going to feel like a breath of fresh air in terms of a puzzle to solve. Julian, he's just kind of flat-footed. He's learned to be a little more on his toes.
Right.
But and that 5 hole's still open. I always felt an uppercut was going to happen, and boy, did it.
Do you notice that he drags his back foot? You ever notice that, Gabriel? With Williams, he drags the back foot when he jabs in, or when he even throws a combination. When he decides to go in for a combination, he drags that back foot. So by the time the back foot is in place to move, that's when he gets caught. That's when he gets hit with punches. That's what I'm saying. He's going to have to box better than Lara, and I just don't see that. I don't see that happening. And it doesn't even – let me ask you this. Do you think is Williams' size enough to keep Hurd to go back? I mean, because if you can't box like Lara, to me, you're going to have to push Hurd back.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, is he going to be sticking and moving like the whole fight? Because I don't think that's going to get it for him. And I just don't think that. Yeah, I think the answer to that would be no. That's just not Julian's game. He's kind of more of a physical fighter. He wants to get down and fight you, box smart, but kind of also fight at a medium pace. And I think Hurd's just going to be pressuring and wanting to get into a fight. And I think it's going to be a bit of a war, but I just don't think that's going to be a good idea for Julian.
I don't think so either. In the punch that hurt Julian and was knocked out with was the uppercut that Charlo threw. And that's one thing that Hurd does when he's in the inside. When he traps you, he likes to throw, pocket shots. And those are the shots that Williams is going to have to look for. So hopefully him and his trainer, they worked on that, because there's going to be at some point in the fight, that he's going to be in that pocket. Because like I said, I don't see him boxing like Lara. I don't think he can be on his toes if for a long duration of time. He's going to have to pause and fight. And I think when he does that, it's going to be Hurd who's going to swiftly let his hands loose in the inside pocket.
Yeah, no, I think it's, but I think it's gonna be a brutal fight, and maybe it comes sooner. It all depends on how he handles his power, But that's a good, at the Inglebank Arena in Fairfax, Virginia, on Fox FS1. This is Saturday night. You've got Jared Hurd versus Julian Williams. 12 rounds are on Fox. Mario Barrios versus Juan Jose Velasco, junior welterweights. That should be an action fight. Matt Korobov versus Manuel Alim, middleweights. That's going to be an action fight, I think. Korobov is rarely, if ever, in a boring fight. And really just a full undercard. But, there's only 5 fights, I think, or rather 6 fights being shown on TV. But those are the top 3. And then over on ESPN Plus, Miguel Berchelt takes on Francisco Vargas in a rematch, super featherweights in action, and Emmanuel Navarrete versus Isaac Dogbe, another rematch, super bantamweights, 12 rounds on ESPN. That's going to be a brutal fight. I think both of them. Dogbe, that's courage coming back. Maybe he wasn't right for that fight, but it's kind of do or die when you're facing a guy that took you out the way he did, the last time.
It's more on Dogbe this time around, because you know what, he had gone back to the drawing board, make these adjustments. Let's see what he does on fight night, because a lot of times coming off a loss like that, I mean, he just didn't get a loss, he got a beating. A lot of times you need a little bit more time. Sometimes even a confidence builder. We didn't see that. Like you said, it's pretty ballsy for him to say, let me get that rematch. Let me get back in there. So it's really on Dog Bay. And what did he learn from this? How mentally strong is he to come back so fast and so soon? So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with Navarrete in the fight. I just think styles make fights, and it looked, all things being equal, the style was just not quite right for him. The size, everything just was a little off. But I could be wrong. I really like Dog Bay, but Berchelt Vargas, I just think that Vargas, there's a lot of miles on that odometer. I just feel like Berchelt it's his time right now.
He is a step side, my friend. That's what he is now. He's a step side truck, at the moment. He's not a new truck anymore. I know people are excited about it. But I mean, if there's something left in him, it might turn out to be a good fight. I think what people are going to be praising about is there is going to be blood and fists flying, but is it going to have a science of violence behind it? No, it's just going to be violent. I lose you, Gabe. You on mute? Are you on mute?
I'm doing great on mute. Also on Friday, May 10th, Motor Point Arena in Nottingham, England. DAZN, Lee Wood versus Ryan Doyle, featherweights for 12 rounds. A bunch of other guys on that card. And then Omega Products International in Corona, California. Showtime, ThompsonBoxing.com. Ruben Villa takes on Luis Alberto Lopez, featherweights. And I believe, those three top bouts are going to be on Showtime. So that's a featherweights for 10 rounds. Michael Dutchover takes on Ramon Mascarena Jr., lightweights in action, 8 rounds. And Saul Sanchez versus Brandon Leon Benitez, bantamweights, 8 rounds. And that is your weekend fight schedule.
Hey, did you see yourself on the DAZN? I mean, on the top-ranked card in Stockton? You came in as a big white heavyweight, man. Mr. Montoya.
Oh, Jose Montoya?
Yeah.
That's my boy out of Colorado.
Yeah. Didn't get the win, but, he was out there.
I was going to say, did he win?
No, he didn't get the win, but it's okay.
No,
but
he's like 6-10 now.
As a Montoya, I would have been proud of him. Let me just put it.
Well, there you go.
I would have been proud of him. Hey, we can still fit in 1 or 2 more calls. We got about another 8 minutes here on Leaving the Ring, so let's patch in some callers for Make It Mindful, please. Anybody that comes on, just make it really quick. We only now have 7 minutes.
209, you're live on Living in the Ring.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, what's up?
Hey man,
who's this?
Great weekend of fights. I went to the Stockton show. Had a blast. My God, I can't wait to come back again. I watched the DAZN fights the next day, and I ran into a lot of streaming issues. Hope they fix that out. But other than that, great weekend of fights, guys. I'll keep it short.
You have the Ruka. Let me ask you this: how are you streaming it? Are you doing it through that? What is it, Ruka or on your phone?
On my phone, I didn't have no problems. On my Fire TV, I didn't have no problems. But that's the TV in my bedroom. But on the TV in the living room, the big one, brand new Fire Stick, brand new, like less than a week old, 4K, and my internet was on point and all that. It would freeze and it would speed up. It would freeze and it would speed up. So there's a few things I'm gonna try. Based off their recommendation from their website. Then after that, I'm gonna start calling them up.
Over 10,000 people that showed up in Stockton and everything, huh? I mean, man, it looked phenomenal.
It was loud. When Gabriel came on the fight, it was loud. They were screaming. I was screaming. Had a blast.
I think you guys. I think even the local fans scared Christina Poncher because she was like holding on to her purse when everybody was screaming. She was looking around. I was like, "You are in Stockton, homegirl." You know what I'm saying?
She realized. Wait. Stockton? I thought it was a different Stockton. Oh my goodness.
People don't believe this shit. People don't believe this, but in Stockton, bro, they closed the stores there like at 6 or 7. Literally, they closed stores. You know what I mean? It's like a ghost town in certain parts of Stockton. You know, I went to go see that Joe Coy guy, and he was making jokes about it, right? But then when we walked out of the Bob Hope theater,
Arena,
he wasn't bullshitting. Everything was closed.
Downtown, yeah. You know, some of the stores close real early, especially on Sundays. But for the most part, once you get out of downtown, it's not really too bad. But you know what about that? The people at the arena were good, behaved. I mean,
right.
I mean, it was a very supportive day for Gabriel and Stockton.
That was great to see, man. It's great for the city of Stockton too.
Absolutely.
I make jokes just because I've traveled through Stockton quite a bit. I lived in Sacramento for many years, and I traveled with a children's touring show where we'd go to schools and perform for fantasy theater is what it's called. And
we got to get into that on the next show, Gabriel.
Yeah.
I got to hear about that.
They changed their name from fantasy theater because dudes used to come to the theater because it was over by the railroad tracks around 7 o'clock and be like, "Is this a fantasy theater?" Like, no, dude, it's a children's theater. Like, sorry, wrong place.
Are you guys the ones that perform at Happy Hollow in San Jose?
Yeah, seriously. They changed it now to the California Children's Theater, so now you know exactly what it is. But I've traveled like all through every weird, or small town from like Northern Cal, Central Valley, all the way up to like near Nevada, like any small like one-room classroom. I've been there. But Stockton's cool, man. I think you guys got an In-N-Out burger, and I appreciate that.
yeah, it's not that bad. I mean, it's just like every town has their good spots, bad spots.
Right.
Lived here my whole life, man. Yeah, but the show was great. I mean, God, I'm so happy they came here. I'm so happy they set it up. There was a lot of people over there. I mean, when Gabriel fought, man, everybody was screaming. It was good. Had a blast. When I came home, started watching the Canelo fight. Then I passed out on my couch, watched it in the morning.
What was the buzz like during the week for that fight? Were people around town talking about it?
Oh yeah, heck yeah. They've been right where I worked. The people that I knew, oh yeah, they were all talking about it. They were all asking me if I was going to go. If I already got my tickets. I said, yeah. I got my tickets the very first day that they announced it. Well, actually, not that they announced it, that they went on sale.
Right. You didn't see Vatos there streaming it at the arena?
Streaming? Well,
on their phone.
Which one? The Canelo fight or the?
Yeah, the Canelo fight. The Canelo fight.
Well, you know what? My girlfriend tried. Because she was on my account on her phone. She tried, but the reception was
bad.
Poor, bad inside the arena. I mean, it just kept freezing up. After that, we went to her family's house, and then we're talking about the fight. I still haven't watched it yet. I'm staying away from social media. I don't want to hear about it. And then her sister-in-law lets me know who won. I'm like, oh, come on. She goes,
that's like the fuckers that's like the little fuckers that mess it up for the end game, the Avengers. Oh, and Iron Man dies. Oh, dude, like come on.
Oh, really?
I just saw 5 people drop off right now on the call. It's like, oh, he died. What?
No. But I heard the same thing too.
Yeah, no.
I had Roy Jones Jr. versus Antonio Tarver 2 ruined for me, right as I came in the door. Just painful.
Yeah, man. Whenever I miss a fight like that, man. On a side note, I do want to mention about Virgil Ortiz. He looked good. He did. I mean, man, that
scary.
Power hands. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him in the future. I mean, I really am.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Number one prospect.
I watched a lot of his fights, on Golden Boy undercards. But now, I mean, it looks like he's going to be fighting on the Canelo undercards. I mean, I'm looking forward to what the future has for him.
Me too.
And that's the best way to do it, is to attach him to Canelo. You know what I mean? So everybody, casual, see him, they're going to be looking forward to him. I know some folks are saying, about Lopez, that he needs to do that, but this is the right and traditional way of bringing on a fighter, is you have him underneath the main event guy, and if he's always exciting, he will develop to be the demand.
Oh, yeah, he looked good. He looked good. I mean, that punch that he gave Ferrat, man, that came with speed, velocity. I mean, he put his whole body into it. Just jumped right into it and bam, gave it to him, man. I was like, whoa.
Oh, he spilled a lot of beers, bro. With that punch.
Oh my God.
With that punch, he you know Ortiz made a lot of guys spill their beers, because I mean, I almost did. I was like, oh shit, you see this? Like, oh my God. But, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was explaining to my lady about that guy. I was like, man, this guy's gonna be something else. And the more as it keeps going, I'm looking forward to see them developing him pretty good. All right, gentlemen, I'll keep this short. I'll let you go. Thank you for answering my phone call, and I'll talk to you next weekend.
All right, man.
All right, man.
Thanks for calling.
All right. Bye.
Well, that's the end of our show here on Leaving the Ring. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Obviously, we didn't cover everything. We normally never do. I mean, if you're calling in Leaving the Ring, we kind of stick on one topic and we kind of roll with it, and we just throw in a few other stuff, We're the unsalted mixed nuts type of show here on Leaving the Ring. As always, don't drink and drive, because you will spill your beer. I'm your host, Dave. Join us with my co-host, Mr. Gabe Montoya. As always, my friend, I will talk to you next week. And everybody else, thanks for calling in.
Peace.
Tame the streets with the Peugeot 208 Tech Edition. With connected 3D navigation, park assist, color reversing camera, and front and rear parking aids, it makes every urban adventure easier. And with 0% APR finance available, high tech has never been so effortless. The Peugeot 208 Tech Edition. Check it out at peugeot.co.uk/208. 18 plus, finance subject to status, personal contract purchase. Peugeot Motor Company is a credit broker, not a lender. We will introduce you to PSA Finance UK Limited. Terms, eligibility, and returns conditions apply.